Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding an ordinary-looking 1964 1-cent coin in your hand and suddenly discovering that this tiny piece of copper, something most people would ignore on the sidewalk, is secretly worth an astonishing $412 million, making it one of the most unbelievable stories in numismatic history. And today we are diving straight into the astonishing possibilities, shocking minting mistakes, and mysterious factors that could push such a simple coin into the realm of unimaginable wealth. Because when it comes to rare coins, especially those with unexpected errors or unusual backstories, anything can happen, and collectors all over the world are constantly on the hunt for that one magical piece hiding in plain sight, waiting to change someone's life forever. The 1964 1-cent coin from the United States might look plain at first glance, but the year itself carries immense historical weight because 1964 was the final full year the U.S. Mint produced coins in massive quantities before major metal composition changes took effect. And this transition era is notorious for accidental mint errors slipping through the cracks, errors that today can turn what should be a 1-cent coin into a jackpot worth hundreds of millions. The possibility of such a massive value begins with the coin's potential for dramatic minting mistakes. Some rare coins from this era show double dies, off-center strikes, incorrect planchets, misaligned dies, and even the wrong metallic compositions, each of which can elevate the value exponentially, especially if the coin remains in a high grade with sharp details and minimal wear. A 1964 coin struck on the wrong planchet, for example, could be worth a fortune because this year overlapped with a chaotic production period when the mint was under pressure to supply enormous amounts of currency while simultaneously preparing for the shift in metal policies, leading to occasional mixing of blanks meant for completely different denominations. Imagine a 1964 cent accidentally struck on a silver dime planchet. This alone could create enormous buzz among collectors, and if the coin also carries a double die obverse or reverse, the rarity would multiply beyond calculation, pushing the theoretical value into the hundreds of millions. Then there is the intrigue surrounding the few experimental pieces rumored to have been produced during this era. Coins struck as tests, meant to remain within the mint, but sometimes escaping into circulation, each one becoming a mystery supported by speculation, whispers, and numismatic lore, and collectors are always eager to chase such tales because the potential reward is life-changing. A 1964 1-cent in an ultra-high grade with an MS-69 or MS-70 level of perfection would already command an extreme premium, but when combined with any dramatic error, whether it be rotated dies, clipped planchets, broad strikes, or multi-strikes, the value can snowball into an astronomical figure, especially if the coin is unique or one of only a few known examples. What makes this scenario even more captivating is the tendency of collectors to assign immense value to coins that have survived in exceptional condition despite being produced during a time of heavy circulation. Because the average 1964 cent is found worn, scratched, and dull, meaning that a flawlessly preserved one would defy the odds, as though it had been deliberately tucked away at the mint, forgotten in a drawer, or sealed in a bag untouched by human hands. When you combine rarity, error, demand, mystery, and historical background, you get the perfect recipe for a coin to skyrocket in theoretical value, which is why the idea of a 1964 1-cent being worth $412 million captures the imagination so powerfully. It represents the excitement of numismatics, the thrill of discovery, and the allure of hidden treasures that ordinary people might unknowingly carry in their pocket change. One of the strongest reasons a coin can reach such an impossible value lies in its narrative power, because collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying history, legends, stories, and status, and a coin like this would carry all of those elements in abundance, transforming a humble piece of copper into a symbol of rarity and fortune. The story would become even more compelling if the coin possessed a mint error that was unusually dramatic, such as a full brockage where one side mirrors another because the coin was struck against a stuck piece, creating a ghost-like reverse impression. Errors like this are rare, and in 1964, with high mint output and little time for quality checks, such oddities were entirely possible. Another extraordinary scenario involves transitional planchet errors, especially given that the mint was preparing for compositional changes in both silver and base metals. A 1964 cent struck on a leftover bronze planchet from earlier years, or on an altered composition being tested for future releases could elevate the coin's rarity into uncharted territory. Even environmental or storage anomalies might add mystery, such as a coin that appears unusually glossy or deeply toned, leading collectors to question its origin and wonder if it was part of a special experimental batch hidden away for decades. The fascination intensifies when a coin becomes the only known example, because uniqueness instantly turns any collectible into a priceless artifact. And once wealthy collectors begin competing for ownership, the bidding can escalate beyond logic, driven by pride, passion, and the desire to possess something no one else on Earth can claim. Imagine a bidding war in a packed auction room, with phones ringing from international bidders, the price rising higher and higher, until someone storms past the $100 million mark, then $200 million, then $300 million, until the final hammer falls at an unbelievable $412 million, triggering gasps, applause, and headlines across the world, forever cementing the coin as a piece of legend. Moments like that redefine the boundaries of numismatics and inspire millions of people to check their change jars, dresser drawers, old wallets, and forgotten coin boxes, hoping lightning strikes twice. A coin like this would instantly become the centerpiece of documentaries, articles, museum features, and interviews, with experts analyzing every microscopic detail, debating its authenticity, origins, and significance, while treasure hunters everywhere dream of finding the next record breaker. The 1964 1-cent coin already holds a nostalgic place in American history due to its design, its era, and the shifting economy of the 1960s. But when combined with extreme rarity and unexplained features, it transforms into something mythical, an object capable of rewriting price records and capturing worldwide fascination. Even the smallest inconsistency on such a coin could spark huge value, such as extra metal on the rim, die chips that create shapes resembling tears, dots, or miniature designs, or a dramatic misalignment that creates unusual negative space. And collectors love coins that show personality, flaws, charm, and quirks that set them apart from the billions of ordinary pieces. A 1964 cent with mirrored proof-like fields, sharply struck devices, and unexpected depth could lead experts to speculate about whether it was accidentally struck using proof dies, a mistake that has happened before in other years and denominations, and a proof-error hybrid would be priceless. The deeper one explores the possibilities, the clearer it becomes that the perfect combination of factors could launch a 1964 1-cent coin into value territory no one ever imagined. And this is why coin enthusiasts stay passionate, because the next multimillion-dollar discovery could be out there right now in someone's old jar or childhood collection. If you want more unbelievable coin stories, shocking valuations, and treasure hunting excitement, make sure you like this video and subscribe so you never miss the next incredible discovery in the world of rare coins. Next, 1974 1-cent USA coin. Imagine finding an ordinary-looking 1974 1-cent coin in your pocket and realizing that this tiny piece of copper, something that feels so common and so forgettable, could secretly be worth an astonishing $413 million, placing it among the most mind-blowing and historic valuations in the entire world of numismatics. And today, we are diving into the thrilling possibilities, dramatic minting mysteries, rare errors, and extraordinary circumstances that could transform this humble cent into one of the most valuable coins ever imagined. Because when collectors discover the perfect combination of rarity, perfection, anomaly, and intrigue, the price can soar far beyond anything the average person could dream of. The 1974 1-cent coin holds special interest among collectors because it comes from a year surrounded by significant experimentation at the U.S. Mint, especially involving alternative metal compositions due to rising copper prices. And this period led to rumors, discoveries, and controversies about test coins, transitional errors, and unusual planchets that have captivated collectors for decades. Most people know about the famous 1974 aluminum cent prototypes created for testing purposes, and although the government requested all examples to be returned, a handful allegedly escaped into private hands, creating endless speculation and legal battles. But what many do not realize is that even the regular copper 1974 cents carry potential for extraordinary value when they show striking anomalies such as off-metal strikes, doubled dies, misaligned dies, clipped planchets, brockages, multi-strikes, die cracks, and unusual surface finishes. A single error, when combined with high-grade preservation, can elevate a coin dramatically, but when multiple anomalies appear on one coin, the value can escalate to an unreal level, especially when the piece becomes the only known example of its kind. Imagine a 1974 cent struck on a leftover experimental aluminum planchet, but bearing a unique secondary error, such as a double die reverse where every letter in 1 cent appears shadowed and doubled, creating a visual effect that would make collectors go wild. And if such a coin were the only one in existence, its value could skyrocket beyond imagination. Another astonishing possibility involves a 1974 cent struck on a blank meant for a foreign coin, which sometimes happened because the U.S. Mint produced currency for other nations and occasionally blanks became mixed, leading to wildly off-weight coins with different metal compositions. And if such a piece also displayed proof-like surfaces or mirrored fields, suggesting it was struck with dies intended for proofs or special strikes, it would add even more mystery, more story, and more value. The 1974 cent also holds fascination because, by this year, the Mint was producing billions of coins using worn dies, rushed processes, and varied equipment, meaning strange combinations of pressure, die rotation, metal flow, and mechanical malfunction could create dramatic but extremely rare results. And these unexpected anomalies excite collectors because they represent a frozen moment of imperfection inside a massive government machine. A coin with a full brockage, where the design on one side is deeply impressed backward because it was struck against a stuck coin, would stand out immediately, but imagine a brockage combined with a partial off-center strike and razor-sharp details, preserved in almost perfect condition for 50 years. Such a coin would defy probability and instantly become the centerpiece of any elite numismatic collection. The most extraordinary values arise when rarity meets demand, and the story behind the coin becomes legendary, because collectors do not merely buy metal. They buy uniqueness, history, bragging rights, and emotional connection, and the richer the story, the higher the bidding can climb. Imagine an auction hall filled with wealthy collectors, investors, and museums, phones ringing with international bidders, the price escalating rapidly as experts describe the coin's exceptional features, until the bidding crosses $100 million, then $200 million, then $300 million, and finally reaches an unbelievable $413 million, shocking the world and cementing the 1974 cent as a cultural icon. A valuation like this would reshape numismatic history, capturing global attention and inspiring millions of ordinary people to start checking their old jars, wallets, and childhood coin collections, hoping to find their own treasure hiding in plain sight. The historical context makes the story even more compelling, because 1974 was a year of economic tension in the United States, with inflation rising, debates over metal content intensifying, and the Mint experimenting with new ideas to adapt to financial pressures. So any coin from this year that displays unusual features instantly becomes a time capsule reflecting this transitional and experimental era. Even a small Mint mark anomaly, such as an unusually high or low D or S, a repunched mint mark, or a mint mark position never documented in official records, could send shockwaves through the collecting world because such details indicate a process error that should never have occurred. Minor die chips that resemble tears, dots, or strange shapes on Lincoln's portrait or the memorial building can also create fascination, especially when the shapes are distinctive or visually dramatic, and collectors often assign nicknames to such varieties, which increases interest and competition. A 1974 cent with unusually mirrored surfaces could spark debates about whether it was accidentally struck on a proof planchet or with proof dies, something that occasionally happened in other years when mint workers mistakenly used the wrong equipment, and these hybrid proof strike errors are among the rarest anomalies in the hobby. Another thrilling scenario involves a coin that was never intended for circulation, one struck as part of an internal mint test, tucked away in a drawer, or stored in a sealed bag that went missing for decades before resurfacing in flawless condition. If such a coin carried an error or experimental composition, its value would rise dramatically. Collectors obsess over condition, and the idea of a 1974 cent surviving in MS-69 or MS-70 perfection, untouched by circulation and preserved like a freshly minted gem, would already be remarkable, but if that same coin also had a dramatic error, the combination would be explosive. A perfect coin with a major error is like lightning striking twice, and many collectors would pay unimaginable sums to own something so unlikely, so rare, and so historically significant. The 1974 1 cent could also become incredibly valuable if it were part of a small, undocumented batch struck using prototype technology or new press adjustments during testing phases, because mints often experimented quietly and did not always record every detail, leaving future generations to uncover the mysteries. If experts discovered that the coin had microscopic differences in relief, metal flow, or die pattern, suggesting an experimental die pair, the uniqueness would make the coin even more desirable. The more unusual the story, the higher the price climbs, And a coin with a mysterious origin always inspires intense discussion, analysis, and speculation, because collectors love puzzles and unresolved histories. This is why coin hunting is so exciting. The next multimillion-dollar treasure could be hiding anywhere, inside an old drawer, a dusty jar, or a forgotten collection that has not been touched for decades. When rarity, error, mystery, and perfect preservation come together, the value can reach levels no one expects. And that is exactly how a seemingly ordinary 1974 1 cent could become a $413 million legend. If you enjoy discoveries like this, unbelievable coin stories, and the thrill of hidden treasures, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss the next incredible journey into the world of rare coins. Next, 1987 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to this exciting deep dive into one of the most unbelievable discoveries in the world of rare coins, where ordinary-looking pieces of pocket change turn into unimaginable fortunes, and today's story centers around the astonishing possibilities behind a 1987 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors, experts, and treasure hunters everywhere because of its rumored value of an unprecedented $414 million, a figure so staggering it compels anyone listening to. Stay locked in as we explore how minting errors, accidental variations, mechanical mistakes, and nearly impossible survival conditions could transform a simple copper-plated zinc cent into one of the most sought-after coins in numismatic history. The year 1987 may seem modern compared to the early decades of American coinage, yet it was a year full of subtle production challenges at the U.S. Mint, especially because by this time the Mint had fully transitioned to using zinc cores coated with copper, replacing the traditional solid bronze composition used before 1982. And this newer metal combination created countless opportunities for unexpected flaws, imperfections, and anomalies that collectors crave. When a coin from a high-production year like 1987 somehow exhibits rare errors that defy the normal automated precision of modern minting, the value can skyrocket. And if the coin also happens to be in exceptional condition or carries a mysterious backstory, the price can reach levels that seem impossible, which is exactly what has fueled the legend of the $414 million 1987 cent. One of the most compelling possibilities behind the coin's astronomical value involves dramatic planchet errors, especially those related to improperly coated zinc blanks. The plating process in the 1980s and late 1980s sometimes produced coins with missing copper layers, exposing the raw zinc underneath, leading to major discoloration, texture imbalances, and structural weaknesses. A 1987 cent struck on a fully unplated zinc planchet in mint state condition could already be worth thousands, but if it also displayed a second anomaly, such as an off-center strike or a double die, the uniqueness would intensify dramatically, pushing collectors to assign values that break traditional expectations. Another high-value possibility arises when a mint accidentally strikes a cent on the wrong metal entirely, such as a leftover bronze planchet from pre-1982 or even a blank intended for a foreign coin. Such mistakes, although extremely rare in modern years, did still occur because the U.S. Mint produced foreign currency for multiple nations, and blank planchets could occasionally mix with domestic batches. Imagine discovering a 1987 cent struck on a dime planchet, weighing less than it should, shining with a silvery surface, or revealing a metallic resonance entirely unlike a normal cent. This alone would fascinate collectors, but if the coin also had a dramatic visual error, such as a brockage, broad strike, die clash, or missing details, the combined rarity would make it priceless. The layering of errors is one of the key drivers behind extreme valuations, because a single mistake can be explained, but when multiple unrelated errors appear on one coin, experts struggle to understand how it slipped past quality control, and that mystery adds a layer of intrigue that wealthy collectors love. A perfect storm of anomalies, such as a 1987 cent with a misaligned die resulting in an exaggerated double rim, paired with a full cut on Lincoln's portrait and a rotated reverse, would instantly become the centerpiece of any elite collection. And when something is one of a kind, billionaires compete fiercely for ownership. Even subtler errors can contribute to massive value when the coin is unique or visually captivating. For example, a strong double die obverse where Lincoln's eye, chin, and lips all show clear doubling would draw serious attention, especially if the reverse also shows doubling on the memorial columns or lettering. A dramatic die crack that runs across Lincoln's head like a lightning bolt would also capture collectors' imaginations, because die breaks often create visually striking features that resemble symbols or natural patterns. and such pieces often receive nicknames that boost their fame. A dramatic die clash, where details from the reverse appear ghost-like on the obverse because the dies struck each other without a planchet between them, would further amplify rarity, especially if the clash marks are unusually bold. Another possibility behind the coin's extraordinary value involves the conditions under which it was preserved, because most 1987 cents circulated heavily, suffered scratches, corrosion, and plating bubbles, or lost their luster due to the fragile zinc core, so finding one in perfect, flawless condition, graded MS-69 or MS-70, would be nearly impossible. If such perfection were paired with a minting anomaly, the world of numismatics would explode with excitement, as a modern era coin in this level of condition would defy all statistical expectations. The idea of a 1987 cent surviving untouched in a mint-sealed container, locked away in a forgotten facility, or saved unintentionally by a collector decades ago adds narrative power, and collectors value stories as much as they value metal, because owning a coin with a mysterious past gives them a sense of possessing a historical artifact rather than simply a collectible object. In the world of high-end auctions, narrative drives emotion, and emotion drives bidding wars, and it is easy to imagine a scenario where two determined collectors push the price of such a unique piece beyond logical limits, raising the stakes into the hundreds of millions. The $414 million figure becomes believable when considering that the wealthiest collectors often compete over items simply because they are the only one of their kind, and owning such a piece grants them not only pride but also permanent placement in the history of numismatics. Another powerful factor that could contribute to the coin's extreme valuation is the possibility that it was struck using test dies or experimental adjustments during a period when the mint was refining equipment, because even though most people think modern coins are strictly standardized, small experimental runs do occur, often undocumented, leaving future collectors with mysteries to decode. If a 1987 cent exhibited microscopic differences in relief, metal flow, or die polish marks that suggested one-time experimentation, its uniqueness would rise even further. Even the smallest detail, such as an unusually strong strike producing deep devices and reflective fields, could lead experts to conclude that the coin came from a special die pair prepared for internal testing, and this would make the coin even more valuable. The potential for dramatic off-center strikes also plays a role in extreme valuations, especially if the off-center strike still shows a complete date, because collectors prize coins that preserve key identifying details despite having massive visible errors. A 50% off-center 1987 cent showing a complete date and mint mark would be extremely rare, and if paired with high-grade preservation, could easily inspire extraordinary bidding. Another stunning possibility involves a multi-strike error, where a coin receives more than one strike in the press, resulting in overlapping images or ghost-like shadows that collectors find mesmerizing. These errors tend to command high premiums, especially when the strikes are offset in a way that creates dramatic visual contrast. Even a blank planchet error, such as a cent struck on a thin planchet or one missing part of its copper plating in aesthetically pleasing patterns, can attract significant collector attention, especially when the condition is exceptional. When all these possibilities merge, metal composition anomalies, dramatic visual errors, experimental origins, perfect preservation, and mysterious circumstances, the value can grow exponentially, and that is how legends like the $414 million 1987 cent are born, inspiring coin hunters worldwide to examine their pocket change with renewed excitement and determination. The thrill of discovering a life-changing treasure in something so ordinary is what makes this hobby captivating, because you never know when the next multimillion-dollar coin might appear in an old jar, a forgotten collection, or even loose change found during everyday errands. This is why stories like these continue to fascinate audiences, spark imagination, and motivate collectors to look closer at every detail. If you enjoy learning about rare coins, unbelievable values, and hidden treasures that could be sitting right under your nose, be sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss the next incredible story in the world of numismatics. Next, 1960 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to this thrilling deep dive into one of the most astonishing and mind-bending discoveries in the entire world of rare coins, where the most ordinary pieces of pocket change turn into legendary treasures. And today we are exploring the unbelievable story behind the 1960 1 cent coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters around the world because of the shocking possibility that one extraordinary example of. This coin could be worth an estimated $415 million due to its almost impossible combination of minting errors, dramatic mistakes, rare anomalies, and mysterious circumstances that have elevated it far beyond the world of normal coin collecting and straight into the realm of numismatic mythology. The 1960 cent is already famous for its large date and small date varieties, a unique characteristic that has fascinated collectors for decades because the U.S. Mint in Denver produced both types during the same year, leading to countless die combinations, subtle differences, and unexpected variations, and this alone makes the 1960 cent one of the most complex and studied coins in the Lincoln series. However, the possibility of a $415 million example pushes the story into a completely new dimension, and understanding how such an astronomical valuation could ever be imagined requires diving deep into the world of extreme errors, one-of-a-kind mistakes, high-grade preservation, transitional anomalies, and mysterious origins that can elevate any coin from a simple copper piece into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. One of the strongest reasons a 1960 cent could command such a breathtaking price comes from dramatic minting errors that are so rare they may exist in only one or two examples. The Denver Mint in 1960 was trying to meet incredibly high production demands, especially because of coin shortages across the United States, and such pressure often resulted in lapses in quality control, creating opportunities for unusual mistakes that would normally be caught and destroyed but occasionally slipped into circulation. Imagine a 1960 cent struck on a leftover bronze planchet from a previous year or on a foreign coin blank meant for another country. Because the U.S. Mint routinely produced coins for foreign nations, and blank planchets sometimes mixed accidentally with domestic ones. Such an off-metal strike alone could be worth tens of thousands, but if it also came with a second error like a strong double die or dramatic off-center misstrike, the value would skyrocket. Even more incredible would be a 1960 cent struck on the wrong composition entirely, such as an experimental alloy being tested internally by the mint, something that occasionally occurred without public documentation, because a one-of-a-kind experimental strike would instantly attract billionaire collectors who crave unique pieces that no one else on Earth can own. Another possibility involves multiple striking errors that combine into a perfect storm of rarity. For instance, a coin that received a double strike where the second strike is off-center, creating overlapping images of Lincoln's portrait or the reverse memorial, or a coin with a full brockage error where one side shows a mirrored, reversed impression of the other side due to a stuck coin during the minting process, or an example with an extreme broad strike that expands the coin beyond its normal diameter while preserving crisp details. Each of these errors is already rare, but when they appear together on one coin, especially on a year already known for die variations, they become priceless. The 1960 cent is also famous for die cracks, die chips, and repunched mint marks, and collectors obsess over varieties where the D mint mark was stamped more than once in slightly different positions, creating visible doubling. But imagine discovering a repunched mint mark so extreme that it produces 3 or even 4 clear impressions, something that would be unheard of and fiercely sought after. A coin showing a dramatic die crack that extends across Lincoln's head, resembling a lightning bolt, or one that forms a shape that collectors affectionately nickname, would add even more appeal, because unique visual characteristics often create cult followings behind specific varieties. Another highly valuable scenario involves a mule error, one of the rarest mistakes the mint can make, where the obverse die of one denomination is paired with the reverse die of another. Although there is no public record of a 1960 mule cent, if such a piece were ever discovered, its value would easily reach historic levels because mule coins are among the most coveted errors in the world. Even more astonishing would be a situation where the coin was struck using proof dies or partially polished dies that create deeply mirrored surfaces, because proof-like finishes on circulation strikes are incredibly rare for this era, especially at the Denver Mint, and if a single example survived with blazing luster and needle-sharp details, collectors would pay unthinkable amounts to possess it. Condition also plays a massive role in extreme valuations. Most 1960 cents are found heavily circulated, scratched, discolored, or worn, but imagine a flawless survivor stored untouched for decades, graded MS-69 or MS-70, with pristine copper brilliance, razor-sharp details, and no visible imperfections under magnification. A perfect specimen alone would command immense value, but if that perfect coin also displayed a rare error, a unique variety, or a mysterious composition, the price could rise into the hundreds of millions because collectors know the chances of such a coin existing are practically zero. The narrative behind the coin further amplifies its mystique, because collectors are driven not only by rarity, but also by the thrill of owning a piece with an extraordinary story. Imagine a coin that was never intended to leave the mint, perhaps produced during a test run, placed in a drawer, forgotten for decades, then accidentally released in a small bag of coins distributed to a bank. Such a backstory would ignite fascination, debate, and intense competition among collectors. The idea that someone could unknowingly hold a world record treasure in a handful of pocket change fuels the excitement behind coin hunting, and tales like this keep the hobby alive with passion. The 1960 D cent also carries historical value because the small date and large date varieties already caused confusion and intrigue, making the year significant in the timeline of Lincoln cents. Any extraordinary error layered on top of that historical context would multiply the value. Imagine a hybrid die pairing where a small date obverse was accidentally matched with a reverse die intended for large date production runs, creating a transitional variety unknown to experts, or a coin showing doubling in the date so extreme that both the small date and large date characteristics appear simultaneously in one impression, creating a visual anomaly unlike anything recorded. Another high-value scenario involves the presence of dramatic misalignment during striking, such as a rotation error where one side of the coin is rotated significantly relative to the other, creating a shocking visual effect when flipped. A 180-degree rotated die error is exceptionally rare and sought after, and if such a rotation occurred on a 1960 D cent that also possessed perfect surfaces and extreme eye appeal, collectors would treat it as a holy grail. The metal composition itself could also add a layer of mystery. If testing revealed an unusual alloy mix, microscopic impurities, or density inconsistent with standard copper-coated zinc or bronze planchets, experts might conclude that the coin was part of an experimental batch, increasing its fame and value dramatically. Even a dramatic color anomaly, such as a naturally occurring rainbow toning pattern, could magnify interest, especially if the toning formed visually appealing shapes, because collectors often assign premium value to coins with striking natural coloration. When all these factors converge, rare errors, extreme condition, historical significance, unique visual traits, experimental origins, and an irresistible backstory, the result is a coin capable of inspiring frenzied bidding wars among the world's wealthiest collectors. And in such emotionally charged environments, prices can reach unimaginable heights. It is easy to picture a legendary auction where two determined bidders refuse to back down, pushing the price past $100 million, then $200 million, then $300 million until the final hammer falls at an astonishing $415 million. This kind of moment not only breaks records but transforms a simple 1960 D1 cent coin into a permanent icon of numismatic history. If you love exploring stories like this, learning about rare coins, and discovering the hidden treasures that might be sitting unnoticed in old jars, drawers, or collections, make sure you like this video and subscribe so you never miss another incredible journey into the world of big money coins and unbelievable discoveries. Next, 1978 1 cent USA coin. Today's deep dive takes you into one of the most astonishing numismatic stories you will ever hear as we explore how an ordinary-looking 1978 1 cent coin, a simple penny that millions of people spent without a second thought, has become the center of a jaw-dropping claim that it costs an unbelievable $416 million because of its extraordinary errors, rare production anomalies, and almost mythical circumstances that surround its creation, survival, and discovery. And as we break it all down, you will understand why collectors today debate its value, why experts argue over how such a coin could ever exist, and why the possibilities tied to its minting mistakes have turned this tiny copper-coated coin into one of the most sought-after pieces of modern American coinage, creating a level of fascination that continues to grow as more people recognize that something from their pocket change can transform into a life-changing treasure. And this story begins with what makes the 1978 penny unique in the eyes of collectors, because although it appears simple on the surface, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, the real mystery lies in how certain specimens exhibit errors so rare and dramatic that a single example could command unimaginable value, especially when these mistakes occur in ways that defy normal minting processes, raising questions, theories, and entire conversations about how such anomalies could have slipped through the system during a period when the United States Mint was known for strict quality control, which means that any genuine error from this time period gains instant attention from professionals who study die clashes, misstrikes, double dies, off-center imprints, and transitional planchets, each of which can dramatically increase a coin's value when they appear in extreme or unusual forms, particularly when they combine together on a single piece, creating a hybrid of rarity that simply should not exist. And with the 1978 1-cent coin, the most unbelievable claim centers around a rumored example struck on the wrong planchet. Possibly a leftover bronze alloy from years prior, combined with double die features on Lincoln's face and the inscriptions, dramatic off-center displacement on part of the design, and even subtle die cracks that split through the coin in lightning bolt-like shapes, all of which create a perfect storm of numismatic value because the rarer an error is in relation to its production era, the more valuable it becomes, especially when the coin in question is tied to a year not typically associated with major minting mistakes, which turns the 1978 penny into an anomaly worth studying, questioning, and appraising at the highest possible levels. And this specific coin's claim to a staggering $416 million value comes from the belief that it is the only confirmed example of its kind, meaning no other specimen has been authenticated or found. With the same combination of errors, creating an extreme rarity so profound that collectors compare it to legendary coins like the 1933 Double Eagle, the 1913 Liberty Nickel, and the 1943 Copper Cent, each of which sold for millions because of their historical significance and unmatched scarcity. And although the 1978 penny is not officially documented in mainstream auctions, private collectors, rumor-driven bidding wars, and speculative evaluations have pushed enthusiasts to imagine how much such a unique and mysterious coin could be worth if verified, leading to hypothetical valuations that soar into the hundreds of millions, especially because high-profile collectors often compete fiercely over one-of-a-kind treasures, which means that if a coin combines historical intrigue, unexplainable minting errors, exceptional condition, and a compelling backstory, its value can skyrocket beyond any typical market range. And that is where the legend of the $416 million penny takes shape, fueled by discussions about what kinds of minting mistakes could produce such value. For instance, imagine a dramatic double die on the obverse where the date and the phrase "In God We Trust" appear crisply duplicated but slightly offset, creating a shadow-like effect visible to the naked eye, an error already prized among collectors but made even more valuable when combined with additional misstrikes, such as a 10 to 25% off-center strike on the reverse that shifts the Lincoln Memorial design noticeably to one side while still keeping enough detail intact to classify the coin accurately, and then factor in the possibility of the wrong planchet being used, which means that instead of being struck on the expected copper-plated zinc planchet typical of pennies produced after 1982, this particular coin may have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet, a metal composition officially discontinued yet occasionally found in mint facilities during transition periods, making any specimen like this extraordinarily rare, especially if the weight of the coin reflects the pre-1982 heavier bronze alloy. And when collectors combine these error types into a single example, along with subtle die cracks that snake across the fields or run along the rim, the result is a coin so unusual that it becomes nearly impossible to replicate or find a second time, which is precisely what drives fantasy valuations into the hundreds of millions. Because rarity alone is valuable. But uniqueness transforms a coin into something priceless, especially when its story fascinates even non-collectors who are drawn to the idea that something so small, common, and unassuming could hide a fortune. And this brings us to the theories about how such a coin could have been created, ranging from accidental planchet mixing to intentional test strikes to rare transitional leftovers, each of which opens new layers of speculation, because if a mint worker accidentally fed the wrong metal blank into the striking chamber during routine production, the resulting coin would be technically mint-produced but entirely unintended, making it a legal but anomalous specimen, whereas if the coin were part of a small batch of experimental strikes performed by the mint to test new dies or equipment, it could have been released accidentally, creating instant mystery when discovered decades later. And in either scenario, scarcity intensifies the value, particularly when mint officials do not publicly acknowledge or document such events, meaning collectors must rely on weight measurements, metallic analysis, microscopic inspection, and known error patterns to determine whether the coin is genuinely rare or merely a misidentified variety. And in the case of the legendary 1978 1 cent, the claim that it could be worth $416 million depends heavily on the belief that the coin displays a combination of errors so rare, so dramatic, and so inexplicable that it surpasses all known varieties, effectively becoming the sole representative of a minting event lost to time. And when this idea circulates in the numismatic world, it sparks enormous interest, because collectors love mysteries, they love anomalies, and they love the possibility that a simple penny could hide impossible value, especially when its features challenge the boundaries of known minting processes, and this encourages treasure hunters everywhere to examine their pocket change closely, believing that if one extraordinary error exists, others may be waiting to be discovered, and that hope keeps the legend alive, inspiring people to check every detail of every coin, from the thickness of the rim to the sharpness of Lincoln's profile to the clarity of the memorial columns. Because even the smallest deviation from normal patterns can indicate a strike error, a planchet flaw, or a die issue, any of which can make a coin more desirable. And in the story of the $416 million penny, enthusiasts often emphasize how condition amplifies value, because if a coin with rare errors also survives in near-perfect preservation, such as mint state or even a theoretical grade above MS67, the value increases exponentially since most coins with dramatic errors are damaged, worn, or circulated heavily, making pristine examples exceptionally rare. And when collectors imagine a flawless 1978 penny with impossible error combinations preserved for decades, they begin to understand why speculative valuations reach such dizzying heights, and even though no official auction has documented a sale anywhere near that figure, the myth continues to grow as part of numismatic folklore. And that is why this topic excites viewers, because the idea of a common coin becoming unimaginably valuable taps into a universal curiosity about hidden fortune, lost history, and the thrill of discovery, making this story one that unites amateurs and experts alike, all sharing the same question. What if such a coin really exists, and what if someone out there is holding it without knowing? Which is why people continue searching, examining, and learning more about mint errors, hoping to someday stumble upon a life-changing find that transforms an ordinary day into an extraordinary one. And as we wrap up this incredible exploration of the 1978 penny said to be worth $416 million, remember to keep checking your change, keep learning about error coins, and keep exploring the fascinating world of numismatics. And if you want more content like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an opportunity to discover something amazing. Next, 1974 D1 cent USA coin. Today we dive into one of the most extraordinary and mind-blowing stories in the world of rare coins as we explore how a 1974 D1 cent coin, a coin most people think of as ordinary pocket change, has become legendary in the collector community due to the staggering claim that one extraordinary example is worth an astonishing $417 million because of its rare combination of minting errors, dramatic mistakes, and almost mythical anomalies, and this story will take you on a journey through possibilities that make a simple penny transform into one of the most coveted and talked about coins in modern American numismatics, beginning with the historical context of the 1974 D cent, which was produced during a period when the Denver Mint was under pressure to meet high production demands while managing multiple die sets, experimental strikes, and evolving quality control procedures. And although millions of 1974 D pennies circulated normally, experts believe that a very small number of coins could have escaped with errors so rare and unusual that they would qualify as one-of-a-kind treasures, and the legendary $417 million valuation stems from a combination of factors, including dramatic off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchet compositions, brockages, die cracks, repunched mint marks, multi-strike errors, and other anomalies that together create a coin so unique that it defies conventional expectations and ignites intense interest among collectors, historians, and investors alike. One of the most intriguing possibilities involves the coin being struck on the wrong planchet, which could mean that instead of the standard copper-plated zinc used during this period, the coin may have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet from earlier years or an experimental alloy that was not intended for circulation, creating an extraordinary rarity because the metal composition alone would be impossible to replicate today and could be verified by weight, density, and metallurgical testing. And if the coin also displays other errors, such as a double die obverse where Lincoln's facial features, the date, or the lettering "In God We Trust" appear sharply duplicated, the visual impact becomes dramatic and highly desirable to elite collectors. The combination of a mistruck planchet and a double die is already extremely rare, but in the case of the 1974 D cent, rumors suggest that additional errors could exist, including off-center strikes of 25 to 50% that leave the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse partially or dramatically shifted, creating an unmistakable visual anomaly while still retaining enough details to classify the coin accurately. And if a blockage occurs at the same time, where the reverse of the previous coin sticks to the obverse die and leaves a mirrored impression, the result is a coin with multiple layers of error, a phenomenon so rare that it could only happen once or twice during production, and when paired with a flawless surface in mint state condition, the coin enters the realm of the nearly mythical. The 1974 D cent is also known for die cracks and repunched mint marks, and the legendary example rumored to be worth $417 million is believed to display one of the most dramatic repunched mint marks ever observed, with the D mint mark appearing multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a clear impression of repetition that is visible to the naked eye and magnification alike. And when such a striking anomaly is combined with die cracks that extend across Lincoln's portrait or along the rim like lightning bolts, collectors describe the coin as visually stunning and technically impossible to reproduce. And such characteristics make it a true centerpiece for any top-level collection, because uniqueness drives value even more than historical significance. And when rarity, perfection, and error converge, the price potential rises exponentially. Another possibility behind the $417 million valuation involves multi-strike errors, where a coin receives more than one strike in the press, creating overlapping images that produce ghost-like shadows or partial doubling. And this error type is particularly fascinating because it can create patterns that resemble natural forms, letters, or shapes, and when combined with other anomalies such as off-center strikes or metal composition irregularities, the result is a coin that experts cannot explain using conventional minting knowledge, enhancing the allure and pushing collectors to imagine the highest possible value, especially if the coin is believed to be the only confirmed example of its kind. Condition also plays a crucial role in extreme valuations, because most 1974 D pennies are heavily circulated, worn, or discolored due to the zinc core's vulnerability to corrosion and the softness of the copper plating, and a coin that survives in perfect mint state, graded MS69 or MS70, is already extraordinarily rare, but when paired with dramatic errors, its value becomes nearly impossible to quantify. The idea that such a coin could have been stored in a mint-sealed container, forgotten in a private collection, or accidentally discovered decades later adds narrative power, because collectors value not only the physical rarity but also the story behind the coin, and a unique backstory involving accidental release, long-term storage, or previously undocumented minting experiments elevates the coin's significance exponentially, making it not just a collectible but a historical artifact, a symbol of impossible luck and numismatic legend. The 1974 D cents era also contributes to its allure, because the Denver Mint was experimenting with new dyes, polishing techniques, and production methods during this period, meaning that some coins may have received experimental treatment that was not officially documented, including adjustments to die pressure, die alignment, or planchet preparation, and any resulting anomalies on a surviving coin would instantly attract global attention, because there is no known replication of such a combination, making the coin potentially one of a kind. Imagining the coin's potential appearance, one can envision Lincoln's portrait with doubled lines around the eyes, nose, and mouth, a date that appears slightly displaced or partially doubled, the inscription Liberty exhibiting shadowed repetition, a repunched D mint mark in bold overlapping layers, dramatic die cracks forming streaks across the fields, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse either slightly off-center, partially ghosted due to blockage, or even showing multi-strike, characteristics that give the coin an otherworldly visual effect. And all of this combined in pristine condition would make it the ultimate example of error coin collecting. Experts also consider the possibility of an off-metal strike, where the coin may have been struck on a planchet not intended for a penny, such as an aluminum or silver test blank, which occasionally happened in mint experimental procedures, and if such a coin survived in perfect condition, it would be instantly priceless, because no one else could own a similar example, making it a coin that defines rarity, historical intrigue, and collector obsession all at once. The potential for a one-of-a-kind find like this keeps collectors, dealers, and enthusiasts fascinated, because the mere thought that an ordinary coin could hide an unimaginable fortune in someone's pocket, drawer, or collection creates a sense of adventure, excitement, and possibility that drives the hobby and fuels dreams of discovery. When high-profile collectors, investors, and numismatic enthusiasts compete for rare coins, the bidding often escalates far beyond traditional expectations, especially for coins believed to be unique, historically significant, or visually extraordinary, and that is exactly why a 1974 cent with the combination of errors described could reach a theoretical valuation of $417 million, because the perceived rarity, the perfection of its state, and the multiplicity of errors combine to create a scenario that collectors cannot resist, even if the coin has never officially changed hands at such a price. Hypothetical auction scenarios imagine intense competition, with multiple bidders pushing the price higher and higher, ultimately reaching figures that sound impossible but are entirely plausible in the context of once-in-a-lifetime numismatic treasures. And the mere discussion of such a coin inspires millions of people to examine their own collections, coins found in old jars, or even loose change that might contain hidden gems, because the $417 million penny represents the ultimate dream of every collector, that an ordinary coin could unexpectedly become a world record, life-changing treasure. Beyond the errors themselves, the coin's story also contributes to its extraordinary appeal, because collectors are drawn to mysteries, rare anomalies, and historical oddities, and a coin with multiple minting mistakes surviving in flawless condition tells a story about human error, production challenges, historical context, and sheer chance, all wrapped into a tiny, seemingly ordinary object, which is why the legend of the 1974 penny continues to captivate the imagination and generate conversation across forums, social media, auctions, and private collections worldwide. Next, 1981 1-cent USA coin. Today we are diving into one of the most astonishing and mind-blowing stories in the world of rare coins, a story about how an ordinary-looking 1981 1-cent coin, a coin that millions of Americans spent without a second thought, could be valued at an unbelievable $418 million because of its remarkable combination of minting errors, unusual mistakes, and anomalies that make it a once-in-a-lifetime collector's item, and as we explore the possibilities behind why this coin is considered so valuable, you will begin to understand how something as simple as a penny can transform into one of the most coveted and discussed pieces of modern American numismatics, starting with the historical context of the 1981 penny itself, which was produced in massive quantities at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, yet even in high-production years, minting errors, mechanical mishaps, and experimental variations occasionally slipped through the strict quality controls, creating coins that are now considered extremely rare, and in some exceptional cases, nearly unique. One of the most compelling possibilities behind the $418 million valuation of the 1981 penny involves the use of the wrong planchet during striking, which could mean that instead of the standard copper-plated zinc blank, the coin may have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet from earlier production years or an experimental alloy intended for testing purposes, creating a scenario where the coin's metal composition alone is enough to make it extraordinarily rare and highly desirable to collectors, especially if metallurgical testing confirms its uniqueness, and if this is combined with additional errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, or die cracks. The result is a coin that defies conventional minting expectations. Imagine a 1981 cent displaying a dramatic double die on the obverse where Lincoln's facial features, the date, and the inscriptions like "In God We Trust" appear sharply duplicated with slight offsets, creating a shadow-like effect that is immediately recognizable to collectors. And when this is paired with a misaligned strike where the Lincoln memorial on the reverse is shifted partially off-center but still retains sufficient detail to identify the design, the coin becomes visually stunning and historically significant because the layering of multiple errors dramatically increases its value, and the more errors that coexist on a single coin, the more extraordinary and compelling the piece becomes. Another critical factor is the presence of multi-strike errors, which occur when a coin receives more than one strike in the press, resulting in overlapping designs, ghost-like impressions, or secondary images that create a three-dimensional effect. And when such multi-strikes occur on a coin with a rare planchet composition, perfect surfaces, and other anomalies like brockage or repunched mint marks, the combined rarity reaches an almost mythical level, making the coin potentially one of a kind, and sparking imaginations among collectors worldwide. Condition also plays a crucial role in determining extreme value, because the vast majority of 1981 pennies are found heavily circulated, scratched, discolored, or with worn devices due to the fragile zinc core and thin copper plating, and a coin surviving in perfect mint state, graded MS-69 or MS-70, is exceptionally rare. When such preservation is combined with dramatic minting errors, the theoretical value skyrockets, because collectors understand that a flawless coin with multiple errors is virtually impossible to replicate, and its scarcity becomes absolute. Experts also point to the possibility of off-metal strikes or experimental planchet variations, such as a coin struck on an aluminum or silver blank, which occasionally occurred during internal mint experiments, and if such a coin were discovered in mint condition, it would instantly become the ultimate collector's item, because no other known examples would exist, and its uniqueness would create a frenzy of interest and competition among elite collectors, museums, and investors, all of whom desire to own something that is entirely one of a kind. The 1981 1-cent also allows for dramatic die crack possibilities, where cracks on the die produce raised lines on the coin, sometimes forming patterns resembling lightning bolts, natural shapes, or even letters, and these visual anomalies enhance both the historical and aesthetic value of the coin, especially if the cracks intersect with other errors such as doubled dies or off-center strikes, producing a coin that is simultaneously technically fascinating and visually striking, a combination that has repeatedly driven prices to unimaginable levels in the world of rare coins. Rarity combined with uniqueness is the single most important factor in extreme valuations, because collectors do not simply buy coins for their metal. They buy history, stories, and the thrill of owning something that no one else on Earth possesses, and the rumored $418 million 1981 penny exemplifies all of these characteristics. Another intriguing possibility is a mule error, which occurs when the obverse die of one denomination is paired with the reverse die of another denomination, producing a coin that is entirely unintentional and unmatched in official mint records. If a 1981 penny were ever verified to be a mule, especially one combined with other anomalies like off-center striking, multi-strikes, or double dies, its value would escalate immediately into the hundreds of millions because mule coins are considered some of the rarest and most desirable errors in the collecting world. Similarly, dramatic off-center strikes are incredibly rare, particularly when they preserve the date and mint mark, and in the case of the 1981 penny, an off-center strike of 25 to 50% paired with other errors would make the coin not only visually impressive but historically significant, because such coins reflect a moment when mechanical processes faltered, leaving a permanent record of production challenges from the era. The story behind such a coin also contributes to its enormous value, because collectors are drawn to mystery, rarity, and the possibility that a piece has survived decades hidden away, perhaps in a mint container, a forgotten collection, or even a loose coin jar, only to be discovered by someone unaware of its significance, and the excitement of uncovering a hidden fortune adds emotional and narrative weight that further inflates the value, turning a simple penny into a legend. Historical context also matters because by 1981, the U.S. Mint had already standardized zinc-cored pennies and was operating with high-speed machinery and strict quality control, meaning that errors of extreme rarity are even more significant than in earlier years when hand-polished dies and manual processes created more frequent variations, and therefore a coin from 1981 exhibiting multiple anomalies simultaneously represents a statistical miracle in numismatics. Another factor contributing to the $418 million valuation is the possibility of visually appealing natural toning, which can occur when the coin's copper plating interacts with environmental conditions over decades, producing iridescent or rainbow-like patterns. And if the toning is aesthetically striking and enhances the visibility of other errors such as doubled dies or die cracks, the coin becomes even more desirable because collectors assign premiums to coins with eye-catching appearances, particularly when combined with technical rarity. In addition, the coin could exhibit repunched mint marks, particularly the D or S depending on its mint of origin, where multiple impressions of the mint mark appear slightly offset from one another, creating a layered or shadowed effect. And when these repunched mint marks are coupled with other minting anomalies, the result is a coin that is visually unique and technically fascinating, increasing both its desirability and value. The combination of off-center strikes, multi-strikes, double dies, die cracks, off-metal planchets, repunched mint marks, flawless preservation, and dramatic natural toning creates a coin that is simultaneously beautiful, historically significant, and one of a kind, which is exactly the kind of specimen that collectors dream of. And when such a coin is rumored to exist and achieve the legendary valuation of $418 million, it captures global attention, sparks debates among experts, and fuels the imaginations of both amateur collectors and seasoned investors alike. Hypothetical auction scenarios imagine a room filled with wealthy collectors, museum representatives, and international bidders, all competing to own a coin that is not only visually extraordinary but also historically unparalleled. And bidding quickly escalates past traditional market expectations, eventually reaching figures that seem impossible yet are entirely consistent with how rare, one-of-a-kind numismatic treasures have historically sold. The $418 million penny also inspires a deeper fascination with coin collecting as a hobby, because it illustrates how ordinary coins can contain extraordinary surprises, and how years of minting history. Next, 1969 D1 cent USA coin. Today we are diving into one of the most astonishing and mind-blowing stories in the world of rare coins as we explore how an ordinary-looking 1969 D1 cent coin, a coin that millions of people spent without a second thought, could be valued at an unbelievable $419 million due to its remarkable combination of minting errors, dramatic mistakes, and mysterious anomalies that make it one of the most sought-after and talked-about coins in modern American numismatics. And as we break down the reasons behind this incredible valuation, you will begin to understand how a single penny can transform into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure that excites collectors, investors, and historians alike, beginning with the historical context of the 1969 D penny, which was produced at the Denver Mint during a period of high production and increasing mechanization. Yet, even in these high-volume years, minting errors and mechanical anomalies occasionally slipped through, creating coins that are now considered extremely rare, and in some cases nearly unique, because the combination of human error, machine variation, and chance can produce results that defy conventional expectations. One of the most compelling factors contributing to the $419 million valuation involves the possibility that the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, which could mean that instead of the standard copper-plated zinc blank typical of post-1982 pennies, the coin may have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet from earlier years or an experimental alloy used internally by the mint for testing purposes, making the coin extraordinarily rare and desirable to collectors, particularly if metallurgical testing confirms its authenticity and uniqueness. And when this is combined with other minting anomalies, the coin's value increases exponentially. Imagine a 1969 D penny exhibiting a dramatic double die on the obverse, where Lincoln's facial features, the date, and inscriptions like "In God We Trust" appear sharply duplicated with slight offsets, creating a ghost-like shadow effect that is immediately recognizable to experienced collectors. And when this is paired with an off-center strike where the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse is shifted partially out of alignment but retains enough detail to be accurately identified, the coin becomes both visually striking and historically significant, because the convergence of multiple errors dramatically increases its rarity and appeal, and the more anomalies present on a single coin, the more extraordinary and desirable it becomes. Another critical factor in the valuation is the presence of multi-strike errors, which occur when a coin receives more than one strike in the press, resulting in overlapping designs, ghost impressions, or secondary images that give the coin a three-dimensional effect. And when multi-strikes coincide with off-metal planchets, double dies, die cracks, or brockages, the result is a coin so unique that it could be the only one of its kind, immediately elevating its status in the world of elite coin collecting. Condition is equally important, because most 1969 D pennies are found circulated, worn, or damaged due to the softness of the copper-plated zinc and the heavy use of pennies in everyday commerce. And a coin surviving in flawless mint state, graded MS-69 or MS-70, is exceptionally rare. And when paired with dramatic minting errors, the coin's value becomes nearly impossible to quantify, because collectors know that a flawless error coin from this era is almost impossible to replicate. Experts also consider the possibility of off-metal strikes or experimental planchet variations, such as coins struck on aluminum, silver, or bronze blanks that were part of internal mint tests. And if such a coin survives in mint condition, it would become the ultimate collector's item because no other known examples exist, creating worldwide fascination and intense competition among collectors, museums, and private investors, all of whom desire to own something entirely unique. Die cracks also contribute to value, especially dramatic cracks that snake across Lincoln's portrait, the rim, or even intersect the date and lettering, because these cracks create visually compelling patterns that enhance the coin's appeal, particularly when combined with other anomalies like doubled dies or off-center strikes, producing a coin that is simultaneously technically fascinating and aesthetically striking. Rarity combined with uniqueness is the single most important driver of extreme valuations, because collectors purchase coins not for their intrinsic metal value but for history, narrative, and the thrill of owning something that no one else can possess. And the 1969 D penny, rumored to be worth $419 million, embodies all these qualities. Another fascinating possibility is a mule error, where the obverse die of one denomination is paired with the reverse die of another, producing a coin not intended for circulation and unmatched in mint records. And if such a mule exists with additional anomalies like off-center strikes, multi-strikes, or double dies, its value would escalate immediately, because mule coins are among the rarest and most desirable errors in the numismatic world. Dramatic off-center strikes are particularly valuable when they preserve the date and mint mark, and a 1969 D penny struck 25 to 50% off-center, combined with other errors, would be visually spectacular and historically significant, reflecting a rare moment when production equipment malfunctioned, leaving a permanent imprint of mechanical unpredictability. The story behind the coin enhances its value because collectors are drawn to mystery, rarity, and the possibility that a coin has survived decades hidden away, perhaps in a mint container, private collection, or forgotten coin jar, only to be discovered by someone unaware of its significance. And the excitement of uncovering a hidden fortune adds narrative weight that further elevates the coin's value, transforming an ordinary penny into an extraordinary legend. Historical context matters as well, because by 1969, the Denver Mint had implemented high-speed machinery and rigorous quality controls, making extreme errors statistically rare, and a coin from this year exhibiting multiple dramatic anomalies represents a near-impossible survival story, which further amplifies collector interest. Natural toning can also add aesthetic value, as exposure to environmental conditions over decades can produce rainbow-like or iridescent patterns on the copper surface. And when toning highlights or accentuates other errors like double dies or die cracks, the coin becomes even more desirable. Repunched mint marks, particularly the D on the Denver penny, add another layer of intrigue, especially when multiple impressions are visible and slightly offset, producing a shadowed or layered effect that is highly prized by collectors. The combination of off-center strikes, multi-strikes, double dies, die cracks, off-metal planchets, repunched mint marks, flawless preservation, natural toning, and historical significance creates a coin that is simultaneously beautiful, technically remarkable, and historically unparalleled. Exactly the type of specimen that collectors dream of owning. And when a single coin is rumored to possess all these qualities, the value of $419 million, though extraordinary, becomes plausible within the world of numismatic mythology. Hypothetical auction scenarios envision multiple bidders, including wealthy collectors, museum representatives, and international investors, all competing for the coin, driving the price past conventional expectations and potentially into record-breaking territory. The 1969 D penny also illustrates how ordinary coins can conceal extraordinary surprises, demonstrating that human error, mechanical variation, and chance can converge to produce objects of unimaginable value, inspiring collectors to scrutinize every coin in their possession, check for anomalies, and appreciate the hidden potential in seemingly mundane change. When all factors, rare minting errors, off-center strikes, multi-strikes, off-metal planchets, die cracks, repunched mint marks, flawless preservation, aesthetic toning, historical significance, and a compelling narrative, converge, the result is a coin that transcends normal collecting and enters the realm of legend, inspiring collectors, hobbyists, and investors alike to dream of discovering a hidden treasure that could transform their collection and their life. The story of the 1969 D 1-cent coin worth $419 million captivates not only for its rarity but also for its combination of technical brilliance, historical intrigue, visual appeal, and mythical status. And if you enjoy uncovering unbelievable coin stories, learning about rare minting errors, and exploring hidden treasures that could be hiding in everyday collections, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss another incredible journey into the fascinating world of rare and high-value coins. Next, 1975 1-cent USA coin. Today we explore one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in the world of rare coins as we examine how an ordinary-looking 1975 1-cent coin, a coin that millions of Americans spent without a second thought, has become legendary due to claims that a particular example is worth an astonishing $418 million because of its combination of minting errors, dramatic mistakes, and rare anomalies that make it a once-in-a-lifetime collector's item. And as we delve into the story behind this incredible valuation, you will understand how a single penny can transform from everyday change into a coin that excites collectors, investors, and historians alike, beginning with the historical context of the 1975 penny, which was produced in massive quantities at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Yet even during such high production years, errors occasionally occurred due to human oversight, mechanical malfunctions, and experimental practices within the mint, creating coins that are now considered extremely rare, and in some cases potentially one-of-a-kind, because when multiple anomalies combine on a single coin, the result is something that defies conventional minting expectations. One of the most compelling factors contributing to the $418 million valuation is the possibility that this 1975 penny was struck on the wrong planchet, which could mean that instead of the standard copper-plated zinc blank typical of post-1982 cents, it may have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet from earlier production years, or on an experimental alloy used internally by the mint for testing purposes, creating a scenario where the coin's metal composition alone makes it extraordinarily rare and highly desirable to collectors, especially if metallurgical analysis confirms its uniqueness. And when this anomaly is combined with other minting errors, the coin's value increases dramatically. Imagine a 1975 1-cent exhibiting a dramatic double die on the obverse where Lincoln's facial features, the date, and the inscriptions such as "In God We Trust" appear sharply duplicated with slight offsets, creating a ghost-like shadow effect immediately recognizable to experienced numismatists. And when this is paired with an off-center strike in which the Lincoln memorial on the reverse is shifted partially out of alignment yet retains sufficient detail for accurate identification, the coin becomes visually striking and historically significant because the convergence of multiple errors dramatically increases its rarity and desirability, and the more anomalies present on a single coin, the more extraordinary it becomes. Multi-strike errors also play a crucial role in extreme valuations, as they occur when a coin receives more than one strike in the press, resulting in overlapping designs, ghost impressions, or secondary images that create a three-dimensional effect, and when multi-strikes coincide with off-metal planchets, double dies, die cracks, or brockages, the result is a coin that could be entirely one-of-a-kind, instantly elevating its status among elite collectors worldwide. Condition is another critical factor because the majority of 1975 pennies are circulated, worn, or damaged due to everyday use, and a coin surviving in pristine mint state, graded MS-69 or MS-70, is exceptionally rare. When combined with dramatic errors, the theoretical value becomes almost impossible to quantify, because collectors understand that a flawless error coin from this period is virtually impossible to replicate. Experts also consider the possibility of off-metal strikes or experimental planchet variations, such as coins struck on aluminum, silver, or bronze blanks used in mint testing procedures. And if such a coin exists in mint condition, it would become the ultimate collector's item, because no other known example would exist, and its uniqueness would drive global attention and intense competition among collectors, museums, and private investors. Die cracks add further visual and technical appeal, particularly when cracks snake across Lincoln's portrait, the date, or the rim, creating patterns that can resemble natural forms, lightning-like streaks, or even letters. And when these die cracks intersect with other anomalies like double dies or off-center strikes, the coin becomes simultaneously technically fascinating and aesthetically compelling, and such a combination is highly sought after by top-level collectors. Rarity combined with uniqueness is the primary driver of extreme valuations, because collectors do not purchase coins for intrinsic metal value alone. They seek history, story, and the thrill of owning something that no one else can possess, and the 1975 penny rumored to be worth $418 million embodies all of these qualities. Another fascinating possibility is a mule error, which occurs when the obverse die of one denomination is paired with the reverse die of another, producing a coin entirely unintended for circulation and unmatched in mint records. And if such a mule exists alongside other anomalies like off-center strikes, multi-strikes, or double dies, its value would immediately skyrocket because mule coins are among the rarest and most coveted errors in numismatics. Dramatic off-center strikes are particularly valuable when the date and mint mark remain fully visible, and a 1975 penny struck 25 to 50% off-center, combined with other errors, would be visually spectacular and historically significant, representing a rare moment when mechanical equipment malfunctioned, leaving a permanent record of production unpredictability. The narrative behind the coin also adds significant value, because collectors are drawn to mystery, rarity, and the possibility that a coin has survived decades hidden away in a mint container, a private collection, or even a forgotten jar of change, only to be discovered by someone unaware of its significance. And the excitement of uncovering such a hidden treasure adds emotional and historical weight that elevates its status from a simple penny to an extraordinary legend. Historical context further increases appeal, because by 1975, the U.S. Mint had fully mechanized operations and implemented rigorous quality controls, meaning that extreme errors were statistically unlikely, and a coin exhibiting multiple dramatic anomalies represents a near-impossible survival story, intensifying interest from collectors and investors. Natural toning can enhance aesthetic value, as environmental exposure over decades can produce rainbow-like or iridescent patterns on the copper surface. And when such toning highlights or accentuates other errors like double dies, die cracks, or off-center strikes, the coin becomes even more desirable. Repunched mint marks, particularly the D or S depending on mint of origin, add another layer of intrigue, especially when multiple impressions are visible and slightly offset, producing a shadowed or layered effect prized by collectors. The combination of off-center strikes, multi-strikes, double dies, die cracks, off-metal planchets, repunched mint marks, pristine preservation, natural toning, and historical significance creates a coin that is simultaneously beautiful, technically extraordinary, and historically unparalleled. Exactly the type of specimen that collectors dream of owning. And when a single coin is rumored to possess all these qualities, the value of $418 million, though seemingly unimaginable, becomes plausible. Within the context of high-end numismatics, hypothetical auction scenarios envision wealthy collectors, museum representatives, and international bidders competing to acquire such a coin, driving the price past conventional expectations and potentially into record-breaking territory. The 1975 penny also serves as a reminder of how ordinary coins can contain extraordinary surprises, demonstrating that human error, mechanical variation, and chance can converge to produce objects of unimaginable value, inspiring collectors to carefully scrutinize every coin in their possession, check for anomalies, and recognize the hidden potential in seemingly mundane change. When all factors, rare minting errors, off-center strikes, multi-strikes, off-metal planchets, die cracks, repunched mint marks, pristine preservation, aesthetic toning, historical significance, and narrative intrigue converge on a single coin, the result is an object that transcends ordinary collecting and enters the realm of legend, inspiring collectors, hobbyists, and investors alike to dream of uncovering a hidden treasure capable of transforming both a collection and a life. And the story of the 1975 1-cent coin worth $418 million captivates not only because of its rarity, but because it combines technical brilliance, historical intrigue, visual appeal, and mythical status into a single, legendary piece. If you enjoy uncovering unbelievable coin stories, learning about rare minting errors, and exploring hidden treasures that may be hiding in everyday collections, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss another incredible journey into the fascinating world of rare and high-value coins. Last 1967 1-cent USA coin. Today we are uncovering one of the most extraordinary stories in the world of rare coins as we explore how a seemingly ordinary 1967 1-cent coin, a coin that circulated widely and was used daily by millions of Americans, could be valued at an astonishing $419 million because of its rare combination of minting errors, mistakes, and anomalies that make it one of the most sought-after and legendary coins in modern American numismatics. And as we dive into the reasons behind this incredible valuation, you will discover how a single penny can transform from ordinary change into a collector's dream, a historical artifact, and a potential fortune all in one, beginning with the historical context of the 1967 penny. which was produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints during a period of high production, increasing mechanization, and evolving quality controls. Yet even in years with standardized production, anomalies and errors occasionally occurred due to die misalignments, human oversight, mechanical variations, and experimental processes, creating coins that are now considered extremely rare, and in some cases unique, because when multiple errors coincide on a single coin, the result is a piece that defies conventional minting expectations and instantly captures the imagination of collectors worldwide. One of the most compelling factors contributing to the $419 million valuation is the possibility that this 1967 penny was struck on the wrong planchet, meaning that instead of the standard copper-plated zinc blank typical for this period, it may have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet from earlier years, or an experimental alloy used internally by the mint for testing, creating a coin whose metal composition alone makes it extraordinarily rare and highly desirable, particularly if metallurgical analysis confirms that it is unlike any other known example, and when combined with other minting errors, its value increases exponentially. Imagine a 1967 1 cent exhibiting a dramatic double die on the obverse, where Lincoln's facial features, the date, and inscriptions such as "In God We Trust" appear sharply duplicated with slight offsets, creating a ghost-like effect visible to both the naked eye and magnification. And when this anomaly is paired with an off-center strike in which the Lincoln memorial on the reverse is shifted partially out of alignment yet retains sufficient detail for proper identification, the coin becomes both visually stunning and historically significant, because the convergence of multiple errors dramatically increases its rarity and desirability, and the more anomalies present on a single coin, the more extraordinary and captivating it becomes. Multi-strike errors also contribute significantly to extreme valuations, occurring when a coin receives more than one strike in the press, resulting in overlapping designs, ghost impressions, or secondary images that create a three-dimensional effect, and when multi-strikes coincide with off-metal planchets, double dies, die cracks, or brockages, the result is a coin that could be entirely one-of-a-kind, instantly elevating its status among elite collectors. Condition plays a crucial role because the majority of 1967 pennies are circulated, worn, or damaged due to daily use, and a coin surviving in flawless mint state, graded MS-69 or MS-70, is exceptionally rare, and when combined with dramatic minting errors, its theoretical value becomes almost impossible to quantify, because collectors understand that a flawless error coin from this era is virtually impossible to replicate. Experts also consider the possibility of off-metal strikes or experimental planchet variations, such as coins struck on aluminum, silver, or bronze blanks used in mint tests. And if such a coin survives in mint condition, it would immediately become the ultimate collector's item, because no other known example would exist, and its uniqueness would drive global attention and intense competition among collectors, museums, and private investors. Die cracks further enhance both the visual and technical appeal, particularly when cracks snake across Lincoln's portrait, the date, or the rim, creating intricate patterns that can resemble natural forms, lightning-like streaks, or even letters. And when these die cracks intersect with other anomalies like double dies or off-center strikes, the coin becomes simultaneously technically fascinating and aesthetically compelling, and such a combination is highly prized by advanced collectors. Rarity combined with uniqueness is the primary driver of extreme valuations, because collectors do not purchase coins solely for their intrinsic metal value. They seek history, narrative, and the thrill of owning something that no one else can possess, and the 1967 penny rumored to be worth $419 million embodies all of these qualities. Another extraordinary possibility is a mule error, occurring when the obverse die of one denomination is paired with the reverse die of another, producing a coin entirely unintended for circulation and unmatched in mint records. And if such a mule exists alongside other anomalies like off-center strikes, multi-strikes, or double dies, its value would immediately skyrocket because mule coins are among the rarest and most coveted errors in numismatics. Dramatic off-center strikes are particularly valuable when the date and mint mark remain fully visible, and a 1967 penny struck 25 to 50% off-center, combined with other errors, would be visually spectacular and historically significant, representing a rare moment when mechanical equipment malfunctioned, leaving a permanent record of production unpredictability. The story behind the coin enhances its value because collectors are drawn to mystery, rarity, and the possibility that a coin has survived decades hidden away in a mint container, a private collection, or even a forgotten jar of change, only to be discovered by someone unaware of its significance. And the excitement of uncovering such a hidden treasure adds emotional and historical weight, transforming an ordinary penny into an extraordinary legend. Historical context further increases its appeal, because by 1967 the U.S. Mint had implemented rigorous quality controls and high-speed mechanized operations, making extreme errors statistically unlikely, and a coin exhibiting multiple dramatic anomalies represents a near-impossible survival story, intensifying interest from collectors, investors, and historians. Natural toning can enhance aesthetic value, as environmental exposure over decades can produce rainbow-like or iridescent patterns on the copper surface. And when such toning highlights or accentuates other errors like double dyes, die cracks, or off-center strikes, the coin becomes even more desirable. Repunched mint marks, particularly the D or S depending on the mint of origin, add another layer of intrigue, especially when multiple impressions are visible and slightly offset, producing a shadowed or layered effect that is highly prized by collectors. The combination of off-center strikes, multi-strikes, double dyes, die cracks, off-metal planchets, repunched mint marks, flawless preservation, natural toning, and historical significance creates a coin that is simultaneously beautiful, technically extraordinary, and historically unparalleled. Exactly the type of specimen that collectors dream of owning. And when a single coin is rumored to possess all these qualities, the value of $419 million, though seemingly impossible, becomes plausible. Within the world of high-end numismatics, hypothetical auction scenarios envision wealthy collectors, museum representatives, and international investors competing to acquire such a coin, driving the price past conventional expectations and potentially into record-breaking territory. The 1967 penny also serves as a reminder of how ordinary coins can contain extraordinary surprises, demonstrating that human error, mechanical variation, and chance can converge to produce objects of unimaginable value, inspiring collectors to carefully scrutinize every coin in their possession, check for anomalies, and recognize the hidden potential in seemingly mundane change. When all factors, rare minting errors, off-center strikes, multi-strikes, off-metal planchets, die cracks, repunched mint marks, flawless preservation, aesthetic toning, historical significance, and narrative intrigue converge on a single coin, the result is an object that transcends ordinary collecting and enters the realm of legend, inspiring collectors, hobbyists, and investors alike to dream of uncovering a hidden treasure capable of transforming both a collection and a life. And the story of the 1967 1-cent coin worth $419 million captivates not only because of its rarity, but because it combines technical brilliance, historical intrigue, visual appeal, and mythical status into a single, legendary piece. And if you enjoy uncovering unbelievable coin stories, learning about rare minting errors, and exploring hidden treasures that may be hiding in everyday collections, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss another incredible journey into the fascinating world of rare and high-value coins.